It's been awards season in the film world, and I'm pleased to bring you details of a film written and directed by the Irish filmmaker Stephen Bradley, which has been well received in Ireland and America and will be on release in the UK from the 12th of February. Now, the film is called Noble. It's the true inspirational story of Christina Noble, a Dubliner who overcame her own tough origins to become a children's rights activist in Vietnam and Mongolia. And I'm delighted to welcome Christina now to tell us more about her extraordinary achievements. Christina, good morning. Great to speak with you.
Good morning, Gerry,
Chris,
and lovely to talk to you and also the listeners.
appreciate
And
that. Now, Christina,
yeah,
you're depicted on screen in a way with some skillful flashbacks by three different actors who show you at different stages in your life. Now, many will know of the Christina Noble Foundation. However, you're quoted as describing visions or dreams of a country that you wouldn't be able to show you on a map, yet feeling compelled to make a difference in a rather troubled region. Now, the film cuts backwards and forwards, but
mm,
can you briefly tell us some sort of chronological order of your background up until the point that you actually go to Vietnam first in 1989?
mm. Well, my childhood was one of extreme deprivation and poverty and loss of my mother when I was 10 years old, and I became a mom to my younger siblings. My brothers and sisters there was six, initially eight, two died. And so at 10, I became a mom. We used to go out and pick winkles in the sea and boil them on the black pot on the fire and try and sell them in a piece of newspaper wrapped up like a cone. And also, uh, I break sticks, make bundles out of them and sell them. And I picked up old stuff out of the market, the market in Dublin, and go
Yeah,
over at 4 o'clock and come back and I'd come back and I'd make a stew out of them, all the bits of vegetables and all the. It was about survival at the end of the day, but we were eventually, to cut a long story short, my father was a chronic alcoholic, a lovely man, a good man, but a chronic alcoholic, and with alcohol, it changes the person. And he lost all sense of responsibility towards his family, and the alcoholism got worse and worse. Mommy died at the age of 10, and we were eventually put into the hands of relatives who basically were very cruel and abusive. And we were taken away by the Irish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children and distributed, taken to courts. And the four of us, the two older ones, one was a year older than me, and the other lad, Andy, who's in Birmingham now in England, and Michael, who died. So there was the four of us, Philomena, Kathy, Sean, and I, and we ended up in we were put into different institutions. So we lost touch with each other for a long time, many, many years. And in fact, the first unification we had together as that little family in Ireland for the first time, actually last year. I ran away from the first institution and slept in the park. I made a den in the park, and I was arrested then some 8 or 9 months later and taken to go to Connemara, St. Joseph's Industrial School. It was a harsh disciplinarian place. And I'm really jumping over a lot of abuse, and I'm jumping over a lot of
yes.
mass hunger and starvation and horrific stuff at this point. I mean, but eventually came out of St. Joseph's, which I was delighted to get out of. At that time, where I've never lost sight of our Lord. I love our Lord big time. I love Father in heaven and the Holy Family. I always talk to God, still talk to God a lot. And so, eventually came out, and my father met me at the station, and I had a £5 note that the nuns gave me. And I went to see my father. Well, he was at the station. He had a few drinks. I could tell by his eyes. I wrote a poem about him. Hid, bloodshot eyes, twisted lip, The dead stare of blank wall reflecting grey the shadows of his past. Stagnant in alcohol, he moans and groans no kind and gentle tones. In the stillness of darkness, burning great, shooting blazing images on one chair but empty room. Together, alone, dancing in the gloom. My heart he tore, my love he wore. He could hurt without hurting, freeze without freezing. But he could never thaw the pain to gentle rain. Oh, that foolish man, he never grows. But I needed him, God knows. And where is time now, old man, since you left me in my mother's womb? Under clawing black clouds, dark naked moon, I lay you in your tomb. Whiskey, soda, sour, bitter, sweet taste. No more, da. Your little girl has now closed the door. I don't know, da. Did you not know we loved you?
That is certainly very moving. Now, when you say about going to St. Joseph's in Connemara, roughly what year was that? When are we talking about?
Early 50s, and we were put in there in the 50s, you know. I was put in very early 50s, and then I hid. I escaped, and the second time they put me back in again. It was like to a type of Magdalene laundry place. And then I jumped out the top window, broke my legs and my arm, and ended up in it used to be called St. Kevin's Hospital, but it's now known as St. James's. The Paupers Hospital, they used to call it, you know.
Yes.
And I ended up in there for several months, and then ran away from there with the plaster Paris still on my left arm. And then again went back to live in the park. I mean, you got battered all over the place. You were beaten very hard. I couldn't understand it because as Mammy was alive, I used to sing in the choir, you know. Even though we lived in what was known in the 40s and early 50s as the worst slum in Dublin, which was the worst slum in Europe, which was the Liberties at that time, because there was very good people as well. There's good nuns and there's very good priests in Ireland and in the world who do great things and great work. But there was also some sickos, you know.
Indeed.
Brothers and sisters, I now know how much they suffered. My brother was in Letterfrack and ended up in the hospital for several months in Galway Hospital from his beatings and his we were all told each other was dead, for instance, as well. If you ask, oh, can I write to some brother or sister that you should children there that, but they told my brother the same. They told my other sisters the same. So we lived with that in each other. That really is real destroy. It destroys you. But I don't want to go into the too bad stuff. I think enough said. You know what I mean?
Now, if I could go back up in the years, now, your three children were growing up and you travelled to Vietnam in 1989, which is 14 years actually after the end of the Vietnam War. Now, initially you helped out a handful of street children before realising that you need to harness external help if you're to succeed in doing things on a larger scale.
Tough marriage as well. And to cut a long story short, I had to cut through an awful lot in my life, and I became a very independent woman. I worked extremely hard. My kids were doing very well at school. I knew they would eventually do well at college when they grew in university, and I couldn't go anywhere until I had that dream. The dream was, some people say it was a vision. Now, I'm not going to say it was, but put it this way, the dream was of all the children running in Vietnam down this long strip of road. You know, I could have possibly seen it on the TV, but off I went when the kids were safe to go. I had my own business, Attaché Catering Services at the time, ACS, and I had the franchise at Chatham Airport, and I was building up into a very great business. And anyway, I went to Vietnam. I couldn't get a visa. It was very hard to get a visa because Vietnam was still shut down. And I went and I went on the streets. I started to meet the kids. I was taken aback by the amount of poverty I saw. And I was taken aback by the amount of people who were on the streets, mothers and fathers, children, babies, just lying on the streets. And I just said, merciful. I'm not talking a few, I'm talking, oh my God, covered. And then I said to myself, oh my God. And I met two little kids called Hung and Hang, two tiny teachers. And I noticed one of them was a bit black and blue, very thin. And they were digging, but they were digging up ants or digging up something. But I saw the ants running around their mouth and they pushed them into their mouth. And it's unbelievable. It's impossible. I took the kids, a whole stack of kids in for Christmas Eve. I told the old people in the hotel that they were my friend. I told them I was bringing my friends. And I was going to fill the restaurant up with my friends. And I did. But they were the street people, the street kids. I had a guitar player and everything. You weren't even allowed to talk to the Vietnamese at that time.
Wow.
They weren't allowed to talk to you. But they had a fantastic night. I had no structures. I had nothing, you know. But anyway, I had a life. You understand me?
Yes.
And I decided I was going to build a medical and social centre for the poor, for all the unnourished children that was there, for people to come to outpatients who had nowhere to go. I was going to look after them, and I was going to build some schools, and Christina was going to do this, that, and the other, you name it. And almost impossible task. Almost. I begged and I begged and I went and I begged the BP oil man, Marcel, from at that time Enterprise Oil. And I went to Dublin. I went on the Late Late Show. Would you believe that, with Gerry Byrne? And the first cuts that ever went out there was from Ireland, with the beautiful cots. There was a dilapidated building. It was just nothing. Finished. Then I had to go up to Hanoi, which is about 1,000 kilometres or 1,500, I don't know. And I sat with the government, and you're not going to believe it. This was the hardest thing I had to do. I think I sang a song for them. I said, but I have something nobody can buy, and I'm going to put it on the table for you. Put it on the table and said, this is my heart, and I'm giving you my word. And they both are everything I own. I want you to give me one chance. If I break it, you can throw me away. And they gave me the paper. It wasn't as short as that. It was a long time talking. And anyway, once I had that paper, and I built one of the most respected medical and social centres in Vietnam. And it's still there and still respected throughout the country, because we work now in association with them. And they come and they teach open heart surgery, because we work in association with Paediatric No. 2 Hospital. And they come and they teach open heart surgery, all kinds of surgery, orthopedics, you name it.
That's an incredible achievement. I mean, you've helped at this stage over 700,000 children, and the film is out at the moment. It's being released as on from the 12th of February, and it's turning it into actually a watchable biopic, as in, you know, on the film is Deirdre O'Kane, who plays you as the older Christine, and her husband Stephen Bradley, who wrote the screenplay. There's also other actors in the film are Kramer Curtis, Sarah Green, Pauline Medlin, Brendan Coyle. And it's also netted a number of awards, including Special Jury Award at the Boston Irish Film Festival, also the Irish Film Festival and Television Academy Awards, Best Actress and Supporting Actress recognition for Deirdre O'Kane and Sarah Green. And it's available and it's available to view in cinemas in the UK as of the 12th of February. Christina Noble, may your work continue. Christine, thank you very much. A pleasure speaking with you.